And welcome to a special edition of Cincinnati Soccer Talk live from TopCats. Let's hear it, folks. I'm Nick Sterling, pleased to be in Cincinnati for once. I've got the Wolfman, Bill Wolf. Give it up for Bill Wolf, everybody.
No how. Oh.
Mr. PTO, the razzle-dazzle Brazzle himself, Boston Brazzle in the house. We got our main man, Brad Weigel, back at the back, producing this show for us today. We've got a big show coming up for you live. In a few moments, we're going to be joined by FC Cincinnati color analyst Kevin McCloskey. You know him, obviously, from the TV, from radio. He does a great job. He's going to stop by to break down the matchup today between FC Cincinnati and that other team down south we don't like, Nashville SC. We're on point today. And, of course, we also have the president and general manager of FC Cincinnati, Mr. Jeff Berding, stopping by to join us as well here today, live here at TopCats. As we wait for our esteemed guests to arrive, gentlemen, this is kind of a weird situation because FC Cincinnati a week ago went down to Nashville. We thought they handled business, thought they were going to come away with 3 points. Unfortunately, they drew with Nashville SC for the third time this year, and with other results that happened around the league, well, we've got to play these guys one more time. Bill, what is it about this team that we just seem to struggle with this year?
I don't know. I think when you play against teams that are really strong defensively, it seems like, we're such a strong offensive team that we rely on those guys to get the ball in.
Yeah.
When you get a keeper like Pickens who can just knock those balls out of the way, and he's the only person I've ever seen actually stop a Ledesma upper left corner shot,
yeah.
Right? So, you got somebody like that making the difference. That's their playmaker for them, we just got to find a way to break them down.
Bill's on to something. Pickens is by far the best player on Nashville's team. We've got a young squad. They're trying to find themselves. And really, this is a team I think FC Cincinnati has improved on as they played. We saw the 0-0 draw, which, let's be frank, we are lucky we drew that game.
Yeah.
They ripped us to shreds. And then in the 1-1 game, it was a little bit more back and forth. And then, of course, in this 3-3 game, most of us would say that was all FC Cincinnati. And then, it's unfortunate to give away some defensive lapses.
Yeah, that match last week, really, if you think about it, it started off poorly when, FC Cincinnati allowed that guy, Mr. Big Bird himself, score off a header. The last two yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
What's Tricia think of him?
We know how Tricia Hauser feels about Tucker Hume. The last two matches, though, against FC Cincinnati, he has scored, Bill.
Yeah, he has. He seems to be our nemesis. I think the fact that we named him Big Bird, he's just up for every game against us. If you guys were down in Nashville, the whole supporters crowd was flapping their arms after that goal. They have definitely owned that name. Good for them. I think it's wonderful. But yeah, I think he is not necessarily their best player, but he is their best player when they play us. So.
Certainly. We don't want to see Tucker Hume get on the score sheet again today. Obviously,
Deckle smash.
Deckle smash would be really nice. We mentioned Matt Pickens, obviously, was in the running for the Golden Glove. I think FC Cincinnati ruined his chances last week when they put 3 past him.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Evan Newton winning the let's give it up for Evan Newton, shall we? Can we give it up for Evan Newton, the Golden Glove winner for this year? I don't know. What do you make of that? Because, I was watching the Portland Timbers 2 last night and Phoenix Rising in that playoff match, and at halftime they were talking about the controversy surrounding the award. First of all, I didn't know there was controversy.
Well, the
stats don't lie. What do you make? They were talking about the minimum appearance requirement and how he hasn't played a whole lot.
Yeah, that's the trick, right? The problem is we have 2 great keepers. Spencer Ritchie is no slouch either.
I think we have 3 great keepers, if you ask me, Bill.
I agree. I love Mark Village. I would like to see him play a little more, but as far as who's actually played,
sure.
Right? You got Spencer Ritchie and you got Evan Newton, and neither one, when they're in goal, do I sit down and go, oh gosh, this is going to be a bad game. You have confidence in both of them. It's an unfortunate thing for Evan Newton that he wasn't on a team where he got to play every single game, but that's not his fault. And when he did play, he made the most of it, and I think that's what counts.
Evan Newton won the Golden Goal pure and simple because he's a great keeper when he's in the games. That's still 20 games, and there's a reason there's a league minimum to avoid some kind of a controversy. There's no rule that says, I mean, look at Nashville. Who came in second and third? You had Dan Lynn in Pittsburgh, and you had Matt Pickens in Nashville. And Dan Lynn played less because he got injured.
Yeah.
So, I don't,
So did Evan Newton. Evan Newton was injured for a small period.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, that's when he lost some of his playing time.
That's why you don't hold those type of things against those players. It all comes down to math. This is a math award. Who had the best save percentage, and it's pure and simple Evan Newton. There should be no controversy. That's what it is. Now, will Evan Newton win Goalkeeper of the Year, which is a whole separate award? No, he won't.
One thing that we can't debate here tonight, or today I should say, weird kickoff time, 4 p.m. I think Manu Ledesma is the USL MVP. Can we give it up for Manu Ledesma? We know that Ledesma's probably going to win the USL MVP. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Let's give it up for our esteemed guest, Mr. Kevin McCloskey, everybody. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, how you doing?
Go ahead and pop those on there. We appreciate you, first of all, being with us because I know you're a busy, busy guy. Tommy G let you out today?
He did.
Fantastic.
For good behavior.
So, obviously, big matchup for FC Cincinnati today. Let's talk about this streak that they're on. How do you go 23 matches unbeaten and then basically have to just say, you know, this is over with and now focus on the playoffs? How hard is it to do as a team?
I think it's a challenge. I think the biggest thing, but you've got to look at how Alan's approached each week as well. I talked about it last night with Lance McCloskey as well. It's a calmness, I think, that Alan brings to the team.
Yeah.
Week to week, you know, there's a cliche in soccer. It's always about the next game, and really this is the next game. So as far as like preparation, it's game on.
Do you think there's any advantage, the fact that we're playing the same team twice, or do you think there's a disadvantage, or maybe who wins out in the advantage versus the disadvantage?
I think there's an advantage because I think we're a better team. So I think it comes down to information. You know, as a coach, obviously, and a staff, I think FC Cincinnati are going to look at the fresh moments, what just happened last week. For coaching, it's all about information. I think once you have that, it's preparation. I don't think they need to overthink it. I think it's coming up with a game plan. I think it's improving slightly in different areas. And then it's just about execution.
You know, and despite FC Cincinnati's great record, there are going to be moments in the season where you lose. There are going to be moments in the season where you draw. What is the problem with Nashville? Is it just coincidence that we've drawn them 3 times, or is there something there that is FC Cincinnati Nashville just the way they match up against each other? It's difficult and they struggle.
I think the most important thing, which for me at least, Nashville are in a very similar situation to FC Cincinnati, right? They're 2 years off, but they're preparing for an MLS franchise. So there's been an investment. There's certainly resource in the squad. I think you see that. Are they an 8th team in this conference? No way. There's no way. So that, I mean, it tells me they're a very hot and cold team. I think when they play against FC Cincinnati, we get their best game. Mm-hmm. But I think when you look at it, they're a talented team. If you look at even just based on finance, they're probably in the top 3.
You know, and to follow that up, I was looking at who has Nashville beat this year and who have they lost against. They've actually performed very, very well against top 4 teams.
Right. And that's been my thing. I mean, I've said it to Tommy, I've said it to Alan. They're not an 8th position team, mm-hmm. You know. So, regardless, I think we have a stronger team. I think we have more difference makers, and hopefully we see that today.
So break it down for us. I mean, what does FC Cincinnati have to do to finally not get a draw against Nashville?
Execute.
Okay.
That's what it comes down to. I think it's, you know,
so execute.
We have talent. It comes, for me, it's 2 things. I think speed of play has to be a little bit quicker, a little bit sharper in attack, and show what we have. I think defensively, I think we've got to manage spaces a little bit tighter. I think if we do those things, I think it comes to the overall management of the game, and we move on to the next round.
I like the sound of that. Well, see, you got a little bit of applause there.
It's a golf clap.
So I got to ask you, because we've seen this team play many different ways this year. We've seen the 4-4-2 diamond. We've seen the 4-2-3-1. If you're Alan Koch today, and now you're playing in playoff soccer where you can't lose. I mean, there is no tomorrow. How do you set up? If you were Alan Koch today, how do you set this team up?
How do I set the team up? Though it's one of those things. I wouldn't change much. And it's what I said. You don't have to overthink this. I think the shape of the team, is there. I think it's all about personnel. I think the hardest part is who do I pick in the 11? If you're going to ask me that question, which I'm not going to answer if you ask me it, but
okay, I'll scratch that.
But I do think that's it. It's coming up with the different partnerships at the back and in midfield and up top. And I think Alan's got a good choice. We'll see here probably in about an hour's time what that 11 will be. And I think they'll be ready.
Okay.
I avoided your question.
Oh, well done.
And also told us the next one you're not going to ask or answer.
It's all about opinions, right?
What about Nippert Stadium? I mean, obviously at Nashville they played on a baseball field. It's a smaller pitch. Nippert, we're up to the 75-yard width and 115 or whatever length. Pretty good sized pitch.
Yeah.
Do you think that gives us an advantage? Do you think a defensive team wants to bunker, and by forcing them to spread out or giving us more room, does that give us an advantage, and why?
It definitely gives us an advantage. I think we're a possession-oriented team. I think if the space is there, it allows us to get into better starting positions and attack. I think from that we get into positions where we can really impact games. Guys like Ledesma, Corbin Bone, Nas as well. Just a little bit more space gives those players extra freedom. And I think with that, defensively on the opposite side, when you play against, for Nashville, when you're playing against those players, it becomes harder. It becomes harder to stay more compact. So for me, I think width is key. I think the size of Nippert and also the speed of play. And this is what I said. If they can play quickly at a quick pace, then that suits us. And I think really Nashville will have a hard time kind of trying to deal with that pace.
Well, we've seen 3 different matches versus Nashville. We've seen defensive matches. We've seen an all-out offensive blitz in this last match. How do you think FC Cincinnati is best, using the 3 different kind of blueprints we have in front of us? How do you think FC Cincinnati is best approaching this? And is Matt Pickens the number 1 enemy?
As far as like what we're looking to exploit, is that what your question is? Matt Pickens, to me at least, I think is the key to Nashville's defense. It depends. I think depending on who's playing forward for us today, against probably a guy like Doyle. I think if any of our forwards can isolate their centre backs 1v1, I think we're in a good position there. I think the biggest thing really with Pickens, I feel like, and it was different because usually he's very comfortable in his box. He struggles outside of that box, I think, a little bit, just with age and kind of reaction time. Inside the box, he has good box management. So the key, I think, is playing in behind that line to try to draw Pickens off his line a little bit. And then the second thing, like I said before, is can we isolate their centre backs? I think in past games, there's been a lot of times where we've been 1 against 2, and that's not benefited. So I think that movement, we saw it in the second half against Nashville, if you remember. I thought the movement was a lot better, a lot more fluid. I think if we can continue with that and get them chasing a little bit and break that line, I think we'll have some success.
We were kind of talking about it when you walked in about Manu Ledesma and how important he is for this team. Obviously, we believe he's going to be the USL MVP with the season he had. One thing I've noticed, especially in that first match with Nashville, I felt like they took him out of the game.
Yeah.
In the second half last week, he moved more central, and things started to seem to click.
Yeah.
What has Nashville done, at least in the first couple of matches, to really take him out of it?
I think, for them, it's probably force him into wider positions. I think, and we've seen Nas play in a wide position. I think he's very effective. I think he's very effective, though, when he has the opportunity to combine inside or drift inside.
Yeah.
I think when you're defending him, I'm giving away secrets here, but if you isolate him outside, he's not as effective because that's not his game. No, he's a smart player where he changes his starting position. Instead of being wide, he comes inside. And I think we saw that where he got shifted in.
Yeah.
But even if he's playing potentially in a wide position today, I think it's the half space in between the corner of the D and the corner of the box. If you imagine that space, that's kind of where, in my opinion, he's most effective.
We've obviously seen FC Cincinnati's 3 short seasons. It's a very young club.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know I'm going out on a limb here by saying this, but is the season that Ledesma had the greatest ever in an FC Cincinnati shirt?
Definitely. I think I've said this before. In my opinion, he's been the franchise signing. He's been the marquee signing. talk about end product. That guy has brought so much.
Yeah.
Not just in goals, but obviously assists as well.
He's likable too.
Set pieces. He's got good charisma.
Yeah. He's
got passion. But in the end of the day, this is a professional sport, and he shows up and he changes games, and that's what it's all about. We've had some signings that have had a lot of hype. I think this player's delivered with that hype.
So speaking of signings that have delivered hype and maybe not delivered hype, obviously there's been a lot of people looking at Fernando Adi with a lot of expectations. Doesn't always produce goals, and in the last game, obviously there was points where there was 3 defenders literally hanging on him as he tried to run forward. But talk about what he does for the team, even when he's not got the ball at his feet or when he's not scoring goals.
Well, you said the first thing already. He attracts players, right? So if he's playing 1 against 3, that means there's open space for other players. And I think if the other, and I said this very early, I think it was against the Tampa game, against Tampa at Tampa, where other players around him figure out what he brings, then it becomes really, really effective because he opens up space for other players. And I do think that's one thing. Where he's getting double teamed, other players have to recognize that and exploit it. That's the first thing. Second thing, he's an unbelievable target. I think the other thing, again, of players around him, and this is not to discredit those players, but understanding the timing of his runs, understanding what he wants as a target forward, I think is very important. And then the next thing, too, he's a goal scorer. So you've got to provide him with good service. You've got to get him balls in and around the box. Playing him balls, 30 yards from goal, that's not really what he wants, maybe to combine. He wants the ball in front of him. He wants the ball where he can run into space. And again, he wants the ball in situations where he's 1 against 1. I think if he does that, then he's different level. He's different level.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Nashville, since we just had some Nashville SC fans arrive in the building.
Yay!
And we just want to, Nashville's going to have a hard time targeting all of the offensive playmakers Cincinnati has. We saw him in the last match really focus on Fernando Adi and Manu Ledesma, and kind of left Bone and Nazmi with a little bit more room to work with. If you are Gary Smith, we'll flip this.
It's a better question.
Yeah, if you're Gary Smith, you can't target everybody. So who are you targeting? Do you stick with a very similar strategy, or with Bone's recent form, do you kind of shift or maybe try to zone it, or how would you target this?
I would play very compactly, which I think Gary Smith will. I would look to try to hit FC on the counter. Honestly, FCC, I think it's very important for them as an away team to gain momentum. So the key for us is to start very aggressively and spread them out. And I think that's going to happen. They're a good team. I think they're threatening on set pieces as well. So if I'm Gary Smith, I'm waiting for those times. And I think FC Cincinnati already know that. I think they understand the threats, and those are the areas that they have to handle tonight.
So we mentioned, obviously, Manu Ledesma, a tremendous year. We've been posed this question quite a bit, Kevin. If you take away Manu Ledesma from this team and his output this year, who's the second most impactful player on this team that you say, wow, they had a tremendous season, but maybe it's going a little unnoticed?
I don't think it's gone unnoticed. I think it's Corbin Bone.
Yeah.
I think he's had the best season in 3 years for himself. It's probably his best professional year, as a pro player. He's been fantastic. I think he's a player that's had to adapt into different roles as well. And I think just defensively, what he's brought and his intelligence that's he's kind of shown, he's been a massive difference maker for me, also.
Any prediction for the score tonight?
2-1 us.
You heard it here first. Kevin McCloskey says 2-1 to FC Cincinnati. I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
Did you see the match today? I know you're a big Manchester United fan.
I saw the score. I was out of the tournament with Mr. Wolf here. I saw the score. I was excited until the 96th minute.
6 minutes of stoppage time. Unbelievable.
That's all right. We have hope, though.
Well, Kevin, I know you're super busy today. Let's give it up to Kevin McCloskey, folks. Enjoy the broadcast.
Awesome.
You and Tommy do a great job.
Yep.
We appreciate you being with us.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
That's Kevin McCloskey. We'll take your headset there. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right.
And we are live here at TopCats. By the way, first and foremost, Thank you to the TopCats staff. Let's give it up for TopCats. Brand new hangout here for the Pride. Let's give it up for the Pride. I can't hear the Pride, Bill.
I know. You think they'd be louder than
Let's
that.
give it up for the Pride. There we go. That's better. That's better. So we're here in just a few minutes. We'll be joined by Jeff Berding, President and General Manager of FC Cincinnati, to get his thoughts on the groundbreaking of the FC Cincinnati Stadium here in the West End here in a few weeks. That'll be fun. Of course, we'll maybe ask him about his winner's speech there at Nippert a few weeks ago. Shall we do that? Maybe we'll leave that to you, Boston.
I know we should have the Knifey Soccer Lion guys on so they could play it for him as he walked in.
Yeah, anthem.
Yes. One thing too, I just want to give a big shout out and thanks to all of our supporters here at CST. Without your support, this wouldn't be happening. These cool little broadcast headsets we've got, all because of you. So thank you very much for our supporters. We do appreciate it. And there are many of you in here, by the way, so thank you, including Mama Subs. Yes, you got to shout out, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. All right, while we wait for Jeff, let's talk a little bit more about this matchup.
All right.
Obviously, FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati. Hi, Jeff. How are you? All right. That's Jeff Tebbets. I didn't recognize you, Jeff, because you didn't have your getup on.
Exactly.
All right.
You're not orange enough.
So, let's talk about it. We've got some Nashville folks here at TopCats. Hey, we'll give it up for you. Hey, you made the trip. You made the trip, all four of you. Well done. Well done.
Oh.
Anyway, Boston, I know you like this matchup. You went to Nashville, didn't you, earlier in the year?
Yeah, I went to Nashville, and then of course I saw the matchup here as well. And this is a tough team, and we've heard a lot of talk on other podcasts around the USL about, is this FC Cincinnati's worst match? You know, is 1 versus 8 worse than if we would have played Bethlehem Steel or Indy 11, who we've beat twice?
Yeah.
No, 3 times, correct. So, you know, I don't know about that. I still think that FC Cincinnati fans should be confident. We are a number 1 seed here, and we should be as confident as number 1 seeds can be. Nashville is a good team, you know, and they're going to Major League Soccer. They're working on building that roster. Next year maybe they'll be the FC Cincinnati of the USL next year. So it's going to be a great matchup regardless. And I think that if it's anything like that 3-3 game we just saw, we're going to be looking at a treat here.
I feel like I'm on an island out here. I know we're reserving the seat. But
Yes,
we're
reserving it for now. Yeah, this team, and I guess the surprising thing for me last week was, you know, this isn't, you know, a Nashville team that scores a lot of goals.
No.
But somehow they managed to get 3 in on us. Was that a combination of, look, they needed to get a result? Because I take that back. By the time they played, we knew they were already in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think they were anticipating having to play Cincinnati again, but
They knew they were in, but they didn't know what position they were in, right?
So was it a combination of maybe FC Cincinnati playing some guys who hadn't played in a while? We know that the center back pairings, usually it's either Forrest or Patty or Forrest or Deckel. What do you make of giving up 3 goals last week to Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they came later in the game. We had made basically 3 subs all in a row.
Yeah.
When you make changes like that, you destabilize your lineup at some level. You know, certainly not to point fingers, but you know, you have Richie Ryan who comes back from injury, so he's not really played with the team for a while. I think you lose some of those connections and some of those understandings. I think I'm going to draw it to a conclusion. We're going to let Jeff get on here. I know he's a busy guy. So
the man of the hour, Jeff Berding, joining us here. Come on over, Jeff. Appreciate you being with us. All right, Dad, take a seat here. I'll pop this bad boy on. Let's give it. Can we hear it one more time for Jeff Berding, everybody? I was saying it earlier, Jeff. This show, this crowd here today at TopCats, none of this would be possible without you. You realize that, right?
I don't look at it that way. I don't look at it that way. The thing that I think is beautiful about this club is I truly feel, and Carl Linner, we feel that you created this club. This is the club. And we just created a platform. And the city was ready for it. We're ready for something different. And the way that we connect you know, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful sport. We have a beautiful city, and we're very proud of how it's all come together.
Well, we're excited, obviously. We've got big plans for this club going forward. How do you, and it's got to be tough going from knowing you've got to be preparing for next year, all the while trying to win a championship this year. Talk about how difficult that's been.
Well, it's always been the plan. When we launched FC Cincinnati, we were well aware Orlando City did it in 5 years. So from launching a USL team to beginning play in Major League Soccer was 5. And candidly, we just thought if Orlando can do it in 5, we're a better city than Orlando. We'll do it in 4. And so that was always the plan.
Yeah.
And, you know, we wanted to position ourselves that Major League Soccer really had no choice but to take Cincinnati. And we knew that if it happened the way that we wanted, this year would be a very special year. We learned a lot our first 2 years on the soccer side.
Yeah.
And obviously we had a great cup run last year. But I remember, Alan and I have talked about it, when we were in the visiting team locker room, coach's office in Tampa after we lost in the first round, we just acknowledged we just weren't good enough. And we had to, from top to bottom, make the team better, from the front office to the coaching staff to the players. And we felt like if we went out and worked hard, we'd have an opportunity to have a special season. Yeah. And we went out and assembled the guys and combined them with our soldiers who had remained with us and have this season. But we certainly understood that the whole goal was to be in Major League Soccer next year. We wanted to be the 24th team. We wanted to come in by ourselves. We didn't want to come in respectfully with Nashville or Miami or others. We wanted all the attention to be on Cincinnati. We wanted all the advantages of being the one new expansion team. But we understood we were signing up for a hell of a lot of hard work, and, you know, our staff will tell you, we're not afraid of hard work at FC Cincinnati. We reflect our city that way.
Let's spin this to today, right? We're in the playoffs. We've had a phenomenal season, I'd say even better than most fans thought we would have at the beginning of the year. How do you feel as the general manager, knowing what you know, going into this game? How do you feel about our chances?
Well, I think we're the better team. I think we're the best team in the league.
Yeah.
And I think we proved that over the 6-month regular season. I mean, we were the best team in the league. And in the rest of the world, that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
Obviously, here in the United States, we like playoffs, and so we have a playoff. And so now we got to demonstrate that we're the best team over a 4-week season, a 1-month season. And, you have to go out and get it. And we have a lot of respect for Nashville. We have a lot of respect for their ownership group. We're looking forward to having them in Major League Soccer. They've been a great addition to the USL, and they have a fine team, and it's going to be a competitive game. The thing that we like about today is we're at home. We have the home field advantage. We have all of you here. And, as I said after the trophy presentation, we have more winning to do. We're not done. So we look forward to taking care of business today.
Yeah, and we do have Knifey Lion Radio in the house if you'd like to meet them.
Those guys are awesome. I want to meet those guys.
Right back there with the hat.
You made me very cool for my teenage daughters. My teenage daughters thought that was the coolest that their dad ever looked. So well done.
You sometimes take a little bit of razzing from people, which is fine. But let's back up to last year. You mentioned last year saying that we just weren't good enough. Obviously, you put yourself out on the line. You asked for 62 goals. We didn't make 62 goals last year. We've far exceeded it this year. So did you just ask a year too early, or?
I told Alan he delivered it a year too late. There is some science to this when we looked at the analytics, that we felt a team that scored that many goals, like Red Bull had scored our first year, would have an opportunity to be enormously successful and win this league. Obviously, you have to play defense, and so goals conceded is also very important. But certainly in our first year, we just didn't score enough goals, and we went out to change the roster to get those guys. And I'm very proud of the fact that we're the first team ever in the United Soccer League to have 4 double-digit goal scorers on one team.
Yeah, it's a lot of smoke, Jeff.
So it's a lot of smoke. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
And I will share with you, Corbin Bone and I had a conversation a couple months ago, and he said, how do you think I'm doing? And I said, get to double digits in goals, Corbin. You have that in you. You've improved every single year. Corbin, go score goals. And obviously scoring 2 goals last week in Nashville, getting him 11 on the season to be that 4th double-digit goal scorer. You know, we have a lot of pride in that because that shows a team environment. We're not, if you think of where we were our first year, where Ugo, Sean Coley was sort of the guy.
Yep.
And then last year, you know, we had GB and Danny Koenig to go from 1 guy to sort of 2 guys to this year 4 guys that can hurt you and score a lot of goals. Plus, if you throw in, you know, Forrest and Patty and Deckel, you know, we have a lot of guys that could score goals. And, you know, I'd like to go out and score, you know, 3 or 4 today, and we'll be back next week.
Obviously, today is a big day, home field advantage through the playoffs here at Nippert Stadium. But let's talk about your future stadium. You announced yesterday that you're going to be groundbreaking here in a few weeks. Kind of give us an update on the timeline and where you are as far as the progress grows heading into that groundbreaking.
Yeah, so we've been working very hard on the design. Hopefully everyone likes the design, the initial concept. It's certainly consistent with what we showed almost a year ago at this point. Clearly, it's going to continue to be refined, but we're pretty far along in the process. I would share with you the interior looks from a seating bowl standpoint. Every seat's going to be terrific. It's going to be a stadium that gives us an opportunity to be successful in Major League Soccer from just everything that we need to be a winning team and have a great fan experience. We announced yesterday we're going to break ground in the 3rd week of December. It'll
when
be
it's frozen.
Might be a little cold, but, you know, everyone can throw a coat on. We're going to have some festivities associated with that, so we envision the groundbreaking on the stadium to be a club-wide event where people can come down and be a part of it. Should be a lot of fun. And then it'll be 2 years of building that beautiful stadium.
So you got a pretty busy offseason, and it's going to be pretty short. I mean, obviously we're getting into expansion drafts and you know, the super drafts and other things coming up. Maybe lay out real quick a quick timeline of what you kind of see the important factors coming up in the offseason are.
Sure. Well, we hope to have some parties when all is said and done for this season, right? In the USL. That's goal number 1.
Yeah. There's no hoping, right? We will have some parties.
Then we're going to do we'll unveil our brand update. When you look at our crest, I'll just use this as a little teaser. FC is really big and Cincinnati is smaller. You'd really like Cincinnati to be the bigger part of the crest. So we're still going to be FC Cincinnati, still be the blue and orange, but we're going to tweak a little. We'll announce that once the season is over. We obviously have the expansion draft in December, the super draft, the college draft in January. We'll have some league meetings in December to the Board of Governors that we'll be going up to. I'm headed up to New York this week to talk about, with all the chief soccer officers, talk about schedule, playoff format, things of that nature. So our scouts are already going all over the world, watching players play live, meeting with players and their agents. I'll share with you, we're going to have plenty of guys from the roster, guys that we love, who will be back. But obviously we'll bring in some new guys as well.
You mentioned branding. You mentioned that it's coming out soon, so end of season, I think is what you said. So we're looking like November-ish. Should people start making Christmas requests?
I'll just offer, everyone knows this, I think, all of our big fans, we're going to go from Nike to Adidas. And so we will have all kinds of new merchandise, and we're going to do the brand unveil before Thanksgiving so that everyone, as they start to think of holiday shopping and getting loved ones their things for the holidays, the new brand and the new merchandise will all be out. And I should say we will also have a warehouse sale, so all of your favorite existing gear that you want to get at really reduced prices, we'll do that as we did last year in the lobby of the West End. That's right.
The classic.
The classic line. The classic line.
Right.
Yeah, everybody remembers the line from last year's Weston.
Yes.
I think that was a surprising note. So you just brought on to FC Cincinnati 3 new scouts. And we know we already had one before, and then we also have our technical director, Luke Sassano. that's kind of, I mean, if you look at other Major League Soccer teams, it's kind of bare bones when it comes to scouting departments. And so FC Cincinnati's taken a huge step here, kind of following the scout leader, who I would call Atlanta United. Is there a reason for that, just because we're an expansion team, or is that something that's going to be a focus going forward?
So the scouting will be always a focus. As we look at where we want to deploy resources, you can't deploy resources everywhere, and you don't want to be average across the board. So our focus is player development is number one. Scouting and analytics is number two, which sort of go hand in hand. Go find the best players and then help those players be successful. And so we have a partnership with an analytics club in England. Ultimately, we'll develop that talent in-house, that capability, but we don't have the time to develop it in-house, so we outsourced it to a consultant who will help us transition internally with our staff that scouting and analytics piece. If you think of it this way, there's thousands and thousands of professional players in the world.
Yeah.
And so we have key performance indicators of what we think is needed to be successful at certain positions, value decisions that we're making, where we want to spend our money. That goes into a funnel with our analytics partners. They help spit out players or validate players that we're seeing with our eyes. But then you have to go through a scouting process in terms of watching them play multiple games, talking to them live, seeing them play live, talking to their families, understanding their situation, talking to the agent, understanding, talking to their club, understanding where they are. And so that's a long process, and we don't have a lot of time. So we hired the top scout in North America for Manchester United. Jorge's been an enormous talent scout. He's originally from Chile, and so he has great contacts in North America, in Europe, and in Central and South America. So he's leading that effort. We brought in some other people to work with them. We have some consultants on board as well, and so we feel pretty robust in that space to make sure we're picking the right players.
I'm real curious because, obviously Nippert Stadium.
Kevin was drinking out of that.
Obviously, we know Nippert Stadium is, we call it a fortress here for FC Cincinnati. Big crowds, obviously, but some of the players, let's just say, in European clubs, have expressed hesitation about playing on turf. How do you address that with potential targets going forward?
Well, obviously, if someone doesn't want to play on turf, they're not going to play in Major League Soccer because Major League Soccer has stadiums with turf. We're going to have one of the best training facilities in North America. Yeah. So when you think about 200 days a year, you're going to be training in one of the top spaces. I visited 5 clubs in England, 4 clubs in Holland. We're going to have one of the best training facilities in the world. So there's no question we'll meet that top-level standard 200 days a year. We have a brilliant stadium that we're building that's going to have grass. For 2 years, we're going to have artificial surface for our games. And if that's a deal breaker for someone, then that's fine. Yeah. Go find the guys who want to play in front of all of you every day. That I think most, let's be honest, you watch other parts of the world soccer, we have a crowd environment, a stadium environment, right up there with some of the best clubs in the world. And so we think we'll be very attractive for some great players.
So as we grow and we enter MLS, we're expanding as a front office. We're expanding as a club. Part of what's been so wonderful about FCC has been the connection that this club has had with the fans, and of course being smaller and such makes that easier. How do you grow? How do you become an MLS team? How do you bring in $1 million players and still make these people and all the fans in the city feel that they're a part of this club? How do they get that connection to this new team, essentially?
Well, it's part of the DNA of the club, and when we recruit players, think of all the new players that we've brought in over the last 2 years. And, we have our soldiers that were here that sort of show, hey, this is how we do things. You go out in the community. You work the wall after the match. And a reason we brought in Fatai Alashe and Fernando Adi is so that when new guys come next year, they can say with some MLS level credibility, this is how we do things in Cincinnati. Look, Carl Linder's still going to come have beers after a match on occasion. I'm still going to continue to do these shows and do the events. Our players are going to continue to do these events. if we get MLS players that don't want to be a part of the community, we're probably not the right club for them, and they should go somewhere else. There's plenty of great players who want to be a part of what we're building.
Well, Jeff, I know you're a busy guy. We appreciate you coming down here. You got a lot going on. How do you feel today's going to go? Can we get a prediction from you?
I say to our good friends for Nashville, in the words of Rocky III, my prediction for Nashville, pain, pain.
We love it.
I think our guys are going to come out pretty fired up with a high level of intensity. We're the better team, and I expect that we'll go out and deliver on that. And I say it, I think it'll be a good match because Nashville is a quality club. But I think at the end of the day, this is our fortress, this is our season, and I expect that our players will go deliver.
Jeff, congratulations. Appreciate
Thank you, everyone.
Jeff Berding, everybody. Let's give it up to Mr. Berding. There we go. I like the chanting. Yes. All right. There we go. I love it. These guys might not let us do a show. All right, well done. Well, we welcome a new face to the show. Let's give it up for Trisha Hauser, everybody.
Hello.
Golf clap.
I like these new headsets. They're very fancy.
The very first, I mean, you're the first female CS tier. That's got to feel good, right?
It does. It's fun. It's a boys' club, but
Yeah, it is.
thankfully you're nice.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
I would tell your mom if you weren't, so it's fine.
Yes. Obviously, you made your feelings known this week about that bird down south. What is it about that man you don't like?
Do we have the time? What time are we done here?
2:30.
Just remember, it's a family show. We're family friendly around here.
He's great. I'm sure in some way I don't see it. I don't like him.
Okay.
There's too much. I don't have enough time.
All right, then. So what are you expecting today, obviously? Obviously, you're expecting an FC Cincinnati win, but how are they going to win?
We're going to score more goals.
This is hard-hitting analysis here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
No,
They're going to score more goals.
Yes,
I mean, that's
that's
one
how
way
you
to do
win.
it. Yes.
But I think we're going to come
So
out
it's
strong.
not going to be PKs. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
I hope not.
No, you know what?
My heart can't handle it.
And to derail the conversation a little bit, that is one thing we haven't talked about that I'm a little worried about, right? If you get into PKs, you're looking at Richie or Newton versus Matt Pickens. And this is Matt Pickens. So, does FC Cincinnati have the edge? We know we've got phenomenal PK takers like Ledesma and really, Nazmi.
Are you forgetting about our Golden Glove goalkeeper?
I know, but we don't even know. We might know soon whether he starts or not.
That's true.
But we saw PKs versus Minnesota. Granted, that's a Major League Soccer goalkeeper, but does that scare you?
Pickens
Yes.
is a Major League Soccer goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it does. I think that's a strategy for Nashville, right? Certainly, they can come in, they can bunker down, they can just try to make sure that they don't lose, and then they can rely on Matt Pickens to save the game. And we've seen that. We've seen that story with Chicago with Mitch Hildebrand, and that was the beautiful game for everybody. I mean, we still celebrate that game, and certainly it's a strategy for Nashville.
I posed this question earlier to Kevin McCloskey, and I know, Bill, you've got some connections. Not necessarily, and I'm not asking you to give away any secrets here, but if you're Alan Koch, how do you set this team up? Do you set them up more defensive, or do you like them attacking with the 4-4-2 diamond?
Okay, I don't have those kinds of connections for sure, but I like them attacking. To me, not anything against our defense. They've been pretty solid. I mean, they're not the best defense in the league, but they're certainly in the top defense in the league. But I think for me, I think where I certainly breathe easier is when we're on the other side of the pitch and we're attacking them. I feel like in some sense the best attack or the best defense is the best offense in this case. And if we're running at them, if we're possessing the ball, if we're looking for ways to put it in the net, that puts them at a disadvantage trying to come at us. They can't score if we got the ball. Right.
Yeah. How about you, Tricia?
No, I agree. I think if we go out there strong and we come out wanting to win, which obviously we do, then I think we'll keep them on their toes, and I think we have a very good chance. We just have to start out strong from the beginning. None of this trailing behind in the first half and then getting what my Gina and I refer to as a South African proverb at halftime, where everything just like changes after Alan talks to them. We don't need to wait for that moment. We need to come out strong.
Yeah, the other fear for me is also is that you come out strong and you get that goal, and we've seen this team at times kind of ease back a little bit, kind of like, okay, now we're in the lead, and let's shore it up and defend it. And I think that's a mistake for us. I think we're better when we have the other team on their back heel and we're pressing them. And if we score a goal, we should go for a second goal.
Yeah, we can't just be confident scoring one and just kind of plateauing. We need to just keep building on top of it.
I mean, the history is there with Nashville. The second match at Nippert Stadium. Was that the fastest goal score that
fastest goal in FC Cincinnati history
has ever scored? And it was a great goal. And then we expected, like, even Nashville fans were like, oh, great, like this is how it's going to go. And no, we went to a defensive shell, and it didn't work, and we gave up one, and it's a 1-1 draw. So I agree. That's one of those things we have to be careful for now. This is the playoffs. So we're going to see, for the first time, the USL is implementing a new rule. A fourth sub is allowed in playoffs. Do we use it offensively, defensively, or even a keeper?
Well, we won't be using it at all because we won't be in extra time. Right?
I agree.
We're going to win it in regulation.
At 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's none of this, let's go get 3 points. It's we're in it to win it. Because if we lose, we're done. And we cannot play into that Cincinnati playoff curse. We'll never hear the end of it.
So I posed the question to Bill and Tricia. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we've seen this team play differently this year. 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2. Would you rather see a more defensive preventing Nashville from scoring, a defensive formation, or would you rather see them go out and attack in front of this home crowd?
No, and I think we should stay offensive for the one reason that we are the better offensive team. And Nashville historically has, throughout this year, problems finishing. That's their biggest weakness. So in the last match, Alan kind of did that a little bit and said, hey, you know what, I'm going to attack you. You're going to have to score on us, match us goal for goal. And that's what Nashville did. But I would play the same strategy again. Maybe play a little bit better defense when they're countering. Make sure you get back. But if we have to play goal for goal with any team in the league, I'd pick Nashville because they just don't shoot well.
Can't argue with that.
What was the XG? First of all, I don't know what XG is. That's where we leave that for our resident XG resident Ken Hecker. Where's Ken at? Is Ken even in here? Oh, he's outside. What was the XG for this week? Was it 1-0? I don't even know how to read a graph.
Ken's graph predicted 2-0 FC Cincinnati win.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
So the numbers don't lie.
It was 1.59, which we would round up to 2, and then
right.
Nashville's was not enough to round to 1. So
I think it's time we start to maybe wrap things up here with a little prediction time. So we're going to put Tricia on the spot.
Oh, gosh.
How's it going to go down today?
Realistically or hopefully?
Realistically.
Oh, realistically, 2-1, FCC.
All right. So she's going for a 2-1 result.
Hopefully 2-0. I don't want them to score. I hate them.
Tricia does not shy away from anything.
Does Tucker Hume score the one?
I don't even like hearing his name. It makes me sick to my stomach.
All right. Well, let's get Brian up here. Let's get Brian a Weigel hand, everybody.
Yeah, thanks to the Weigels for the Weigel water, by the way.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's fine.
What am I doing?
Well, we're going to talk to you. First of all, hi.
Hi.
It's been a while.
Hi, sweetheart. How are you? I missed you.
We've missed you as well. All right, so lay it on us, Mr. March to Match Day. What's going to happen today against Nashville SC?
I say this with all the respect in the world to Nashville. I just don't think they're very good. I'll put that out there.
So you disagree with Kevin McCloskey?
I do. I think they can be good. I just think they're wildly inconsistent. So if they can nick a goal early, I think they're going to have the confidence, and that normally breeds some positivity.
Yeah.
But if we can get a goal early, if we can spread them out and then somehow nick one the first 25, it's going to force them to come out of their shell, and I think we win 3 or 4-1. I mean, again, Matt Pickens is old. His form's gone downhill. I'm being honest, guys. I'm not trying to poke the bear. I might as well be, but
you have to make it to the exit. There's a lot of yellow jerseys in this crowd.
Hey, man, I also don't think Nashville hot chicken's very good, so.
It's no skyline.
No skyline, no roses. So, no, but in honesty, I think if it becomes a shooting match, I think we win hands down. There has to be some sort of element of luck, I think, for Nashville to compete in this game. And I'm honestly, I really do respect the performance they've had this year, but I just think you play this match 100 times, I think FC Cincinnati wins 90% of the time.
I like that. Give us a score prediction.
I said 2-1 on the show. That's kind of been a good luck charm. But, so I gave that on the show. But in all honesty, I think this could absolutely be a 4-1 drubbing. So we'll see.
We like hearing that. TopCats likes hearing that. All right, Boston, your score prediction.
I predicted this early in the week, so I'm going to stick with it. But I said 2-1 with Nashville scoring first. And we've seen time and time again this year where FC Cincinnati goes down the first goal, and I think it's going to happen again. It happened versus Pittsburgh. It happened versus Nashville last time we played. And that's just sometimes how we do it. We let them score first, and then we decide to get our act in gear, and that's what I predict today, 2-1.
All right. I'm going for, the last time we did a live show, you remember the prediction I made? I said that FC Cincinnati would win in penalties with Mitch Hildebrand being heroic. Not going to happen today. Not going to happen today.
Mitch Hildebrand will not be heroic.
No, he will not. You ready for this? I'm putting up a 4-burger. 4-0. Clean sheet. FC Cincinnati dominates Nashville SC today. Move on to the next round. I think it's going to be an amazing game, and they're going to put on a show in front of this home crowd. So that's my 4-0 prediction. Anyway. Before we get out of here, I do want to say a big shout out and thank you to TopCats. TopCats, thank you so much for letting us be here. The Pride, let's give it up for the Pride one more time. Thank you for letting us be a part of your day here. Can I get a woo for the Wolfman here?
I feel so much better.
Thank you to Trisha Hauser. Thank you, Trisha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Boston. Appreciate Mr. PTO right here. He made it back just in time.
And thank you, Soubs.
For
you.
Thank you for letting me be here, folks. Anyway, thank you to Jeff Berding. Let's give it up one more time for Jeff Berding making the guy had a staff meeting at 1 o'clock, and he busted his butt to get here for us. So we thank him for that. And obviously, Kevin McCloskey getting ready for today's television broadcast. We thank him as well. That is going to do it for CST. Reminding everybody, watch your tackles, and we'll see you all Monday night.